Hey there, let me tell you about the scariest experience of my life. It happened a few years ago when I moved into this old house on Elm Street. The place looked innocent enough from the outside, but as they say, looks can be deceiving. It all started on my first night there. I couldn't shake off this eerie feeling that something wasn't right. I brushed it off as just nerves from moving into a new place, but I soon realized it was something much more sinister. Every night, without fail, I would hear strange noises coming from the basement. At first, I thought it was just the house settling or maybe rats scurrying around, but the noises were too rhythmic, too deliberate to be anything mundane. One night, curiosity got the better of me, and I mustered up the courage to investigate. As I made my way down the creaky stairs into the dimly lit basement, I felt a chill run down my spine. What I saw down there still haunts me to this day. There in the center of the room was a circle of candles casting flickering shadows on the walls. And in the center of that circle, there was a strange symbol drawn in what looked like blood. I couldn't believe my eyes. It was like something out of a horror movie, but it didn't end there. As I stood frozen in fear, I heard whispers, faint at first but growing louder and more urgent. It sounded like multiple voices speaking in some ancient language I couldn't understand. I bolted out of there as fast as I could, but the nightmares didn't stop. Every night I would be plagued by vivid dreams of shadowy figures lurking in the darkness, whispering words I couldn't comprehend. I tried to ignore it, to convince myself it was all just my imagination running wild, but then things started happening during the day too. Objects would go missing only to reappear in strange places. Doors would slam shut on their own, and I swear I saw fleeting glimpses of someone or something out of the corner of my eye. I couldn't take it anymore. I packed my bags and left that house on Elm Street for good, but the memories still haunt me. I can't help but wonder what dark secrets lie hidden within its walls, and what malevolent force still lurks there, waiting for its next victim. Believe me or not, that house is a nightmare waiting to happen, and I hope no one ever has to experience the true terror that resides within its walls. This is the tale of the haunted house on Maple Street. It all started when I was a teenager, growing up in a small town nestled in the heart of the countryside. Maple Street was known for its quaint charm, lined with old Victorian houses that seemed to hold secrets of their own. But there was one house in particular that stood out, a dilapidated mansion at the end of the street, shrouded in mystery and rumors of hauntings. As a group of curious teenagers, my friends and I couldn't resist the temptation to explore the abandoned mansion one fateful night. Armed with flashlights and nerves of steel, or so we thought, we crept through overgrown bushes and broken fences until we reached the imposing gates of the house. The air grew thick with anticipation as we pushed open the creaking gates and stepped onto the overgrown path leading to the front door. Every creak and groan of the old house seemed to echo through the night, sending a chill down our spines. With trembling hands, I reached out and pushed open the front door, revealing a dimly lit foyer cloaked in shadows. The musty smell of decay filled the air, and I could feel the weight of centuries-old secrets pressing down on me. As we ventured further into the house, the whispers began, a faint, ghostly murmur that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. I brushed it off as my imagination running wild, but the whispers grew louder and more insistent with each step we took. Suddenly, we heard a loud crash from the room ahead, followed by the sound of shuffling footsteps. Panic seized us as we froze in place, unsure of what to do next. But curiosity got the better of us, and we pressed on, determined to uncover the source of the disturbance. What we found was beyond anything we could have imagined, a room filled with antique furniture and dusty portraits lining the walls. But it was the figure standing in the corner that sent terror coursing through our veins. A spectral apparition, its eyes hollow and empty, staring straight through us. I wanted to run, to flee from this nightmare come to life, but something held me rooted to the spot. The ghostly figure began to move, drifting towards us with an otherworldly grace that sent a shiver down my spine. Before we knew it, we were enveloped in darkness, the whispers swirling around us like a malevolent storm. I could feel icy fingers wrapping around my throat, suffocating me with fear. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. We found ourselves outside the house, gasping for breath as though we had just emerged from a nightmare. To this day, I can't shake the feeling that the haunted house on Maple Street is still out there, waiting for its next unsuspecting victims. So heed my warning, friends. Some secrets are better left buried in the shadows. In the dead of winter, when the biting cold seemed to seep into one's bones and the snow-covered landscape stretched endlessly, a group of intrepid hikers set out on an expedition through the unforgiving wilderness. They were seasoned adventurers, accustomed to the rigors of the outdoors, but even they could not anticipate the relentless fury of the storm that awaited them. The journey began with enthusiasm and camaraderie, each member of the group eagerly embracing the challenge ahead. They strapped on their snowshoes, adjusted their backpacks, and set off into the vast expanse of snow, their breath forming icy clouds in the crisp air. For hours they trekked through the pristine wilderness, the only sound the crunch of snow beneath their feet and the occasional call of a distant bird. But as the day wore on, dark clouds gathered on the horizon, a harbinger of the tempest to come. By the time they realized the severity of the storm, it was too late. Thick flakes of snow began to fall, obscuring their vision and blanketing the landscape in a veil of white. The wind howled with ferocity, whipping icy tendrils against their faces and stinging exposed skin. With each passing minute, the storm intensified, transforming the tranquil wilderness into a hostile and inhospitable environment. Panic set in among the hikers as they struggled to navigate through the blinding whiteout, their senses dulled by the relentless assault of wind and snow. "We need to find shelter," someone shouted above the howling wind, their words barely audible over the cacophony of the storm. Agreeing on their course of action, the group pressed forward, desperate to seek refuge from the wrath of the elements. But as they stumbled blindly through the snow, disorientation took hold, and the boundaries between reality and illusion blurred. Hours passed in a blur of white, the passage of time distorted by the relentless storm. With each step, the hikers grew weaker, their bodies gradually succumbing to the merciless cold. Yet still they pressed on, driven by a primal instinct for survival. It was only when exhaustion threatened to overwhelm them that they realized the gravity of their situation. They were lost in the heart of the wilderness, with no sign of civilization in sight and the storm showing no signs of abating. "We need to find shelter," someone said again, their voice tinged with desperation. But as they searched for refuge, tragedy struck. One by one, members of the group began to falter, their bodies unable to withstand the brutal cold. Some collapsed to the ground while others simply vanished into the swirling snow, consumed by the merciless blizzard. With each loss, the remaining hikers felt the weight of despair pressing down upon them, their hopes of survival dwindling with each passing moment. Yet still they clung to the fragile thread of hope, unwilling to surrender to the icy grip of death. Finally, when all seemed lost, a faint glimmer of hope appeared on the horizon. Through the swirling snow, the hikers spotted the flickering glow of a distant light, a beacon of salvation amidst the desolation of the wilderness. Summoning the last vestiges of their strength, the remaining members of the group trudged towards the light, their footsteps heavy with exhaustion. As they drew closer, they realized with a mixture of relief and disbelief that it was a rescue team, their headlights cutting through the darkness like a guiding star. With tears of gratitude streaming down their faces, the hikers collapsed into the arms of their rescuers, their bodies battered and bruised but their spirits unbroken. For in that moment, they knew that they had defied the odds and survived the deadliest of storms, emerging from the frozen wilderness as testament to the indomitable resilience of the human spirit.